My name is Ruth Halvorson. I've lived here at Becketwood for 11 years now. I'm 87 years old, will be 88 this coming summer. My husband and I always enjoyed living in a house. We enjoyed maintaining it, having a garden, flowers, and so forth. But there came a point when that wasn't as doable and easy for us, and we made a decision. And the decision was to come to Becketwood. In retrospect, I think that was one of our better decisions we ever made. And when we were considering moving here, we asked different people if they had any regrets having moved here. And more than one person said, my only regret is that we didn't move soon enough. I think the reality of aging, it's a very interesting time of life, I think. But the interesting thing about aging is that you simply do things more slowly. At least I do. It takes me more time to do what I could do more quickly earlier. Life is slowed down in many ways. And I think psychologically and spiritually, that's a good thing. It's become a time to be more reflective, to look at life from a different perspective, to just realize the gifts and opportunities that one has done. I like to write, so I spend much of my time just reflecting on life and maybe writing on different projects and so on. Aging comes on us gradually. It doesn't happen all at once, so I have certain aches and pains. I don't like to talk about them. I have arthritis and so on, but that all comes on us gradually, and I think we learn to deal with each of these issues that come with the process of aging. Aging does simply slow one down just because of our increasing limitations, but the slowing down, I think, is a good thing. I think slowing down is sort of anathema to our society. I mean, we can't slow down. We've got to speed up. We've got to do more. We've got to be more productive. We've got to get more done in this hour than we did last year. Life is not about increasing its speed, as Gandhi said, I think. It's about relishing all that we can from the life that we have, to try to live each moment. I think too often we live for the next moment rather than for the moment that we're in at this time. This is the moment I have. This is the time that I have. The aging process, I think, helps just to be more reflective. How do we want to spend our life? How can we best contribute? I think no matter what our age, we can contribute to society. Aging is a very interesting time of life, and I have to say I have gained and learned a lot from it. I think one doesn't know how much one gains, but one just looks at life from a different perspective when one ages. My husband died here at Becketwood. He was in hospice for about 5 months here in this apartment, and we were pleased that he could be here and die here at home. And after he died, it was a new journey for me, and how would I live life now after having lived with someone for 57 and a half years? So how would I live life? And to my surprise, as the months and days went on, opportunities would present themselves, sometimes in the most serendipitous way, that called forth my gifts and talents. And I was asked at one point would I give a forum on dying. I laughed at the person and I said, me? Give a forum on dying? What do I know about dying? I only have my own experience. Well, that's what we want to hear. And it compelled me to reflect more deeply on the whole aspect of death and dying. It also became a tremendous opportunity that I hadn't expected, just the process of writing and reflecting more carefully and deeply. I came to a deeper healing within my own self. The process itself helped. The process of dying for me, which was a very intimate, it was right here, close. Death faced us every day, and we had the wonderful hospice people here that came several times a week. I would have to say that my education on dying and death was one of the greatest educations I've ever had. I lived very intimately with death every day until that experience I think maybe I looked at death more as an enemy and something to fear. But that process of intimate dying or walking closely with a loved one in death made it not as foreign, became much more friendly, and that was thanks to the hospice people as well. They talked about death that was not camouflaged in any way. They just talked about it as normal. And so death is just another part of life, has become for me. So I hope that I can approach my own death that way, that it is not something to fear. But it was a wonderful time, an awful time and yet a wonderful time in the learning process and walking with the hospice people in understanding the deeper meaning of death, that probably not the end, it's moving on to another life. I think if I would have lived in a wonderful little home that we moved to Becketwood from and would be still living there, life would be very, very much different. We had good neighbors there too, but you didn't step out your door and see a neighbor necessarily, and you were not going down to get the mail and meeting people on the way to get the mail. You're more isolated, you're more alone. You have to develop an initiative to meet neighbors and so on. Here it just seems to happen very naturally. So life continues to offer a person so much to grow into and to learn. One never stops learning. One never stops learning, hopefully never stops growing.